First thing we got to do is get these tires pumped up and get this thing moved into the garage so we can start tearing it down. Yeah, let's rock and roll. We're gonna slam this thing. I have this lawnmower back here. It's a Craftsman. We'll take a look at it here in a minute. But we got a pretty cool project we're going to start tonight. So let's take a look at what we got going on back here with this riding mower. So this is our next project. This is a Craftsman 15.5 horsepower overhead valve, 6-speed transmission. You can see down here, 42-inch deck, but that don't matter. Here's our shifter and everything. It's got 4 tires on it, 4 wheels on it, as you can see. So you can pump them things up. It might actually be pumped up already. I don't know about the motor. We'll have to see what the motor is when we get it in there. It's obviously it has a motor in there, but we don't know what's going on with that. And it's a little rough, but we're going to do some stuff to it. First thing we got to do is get these tires pumped up and get this thing moved into the garage so we can start tearing it down. Yeah, let's rock and roll. We're gonna slam this thing. Well, it's cold outside, but as you can see, I got a fire going, so it's toasty in the garage. We got this tractor right there. We got it pulled in here, so we're gonna take a look at this real quick, and then we're gonna start to do a little tear down. So we started to tear it apart. We got the seat off and stuff like that. We're going to tear this thing down to the bare frame, I believe. But this thing came with a motor. It has a motor. The front end's falling off. But ain't much left of it. It looks pretty rough. So obviously this thing isn't going to run. We've got to do some work to the motor. We might just end up buying another motor and dropping it on there, instead of this one probably needs rebuilt. But it's rough. No doubt about that. But we're just going to start out by stripping it the whole way down, taking everything off of it, so we can start to lower this thing, slam it as low to the ground as possible. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start tearing this thing down. So we're tearing this thing down, and we're starting to get it tore down, working on the motor. So I got all the motor mount bolts out, I do believe. Disconnected all the wires. And I think we're ready to pull this motor out. So I'm going to yank this motor out real quick and then work on this base and these fender wells. But let me get this motor yanked out first. We are making a little bit of progress here. You've seen us pull the motor out, and then we got down inside here and got most of everything out. We're working on a steering column right now. We got some bars underneath there, down in that slot. We get that nut taken off there, and we get that steering column out. And then we got this bar right here that comes down in there. It's a spring on there. I think it's a nut right there. Just got to come off. That'll come out, and then the last thing is this bar right here. If you see in the back right there, it goes the whole way across. And over here, there's a nut. I thought it was an Allen wrench thing, but I haven't found anything that fits in there yet, so I'm not sure what exactly that is or how we're going to get that out. But we're going to continue and hopefully get the rest of this pour apart here. So here it is. We got her stripped down to the frame. The front suspension is still on there. And the rear drive, rear end, rear differential, whatever that's called, I don't know what that's called, is still in there. You got your gear shifter hanging over there. And that is the foot pedal for the idler pulley that releases the, kind of like a brake, not really a brake, but it releases pressure so the belt stops moving that pulley back here. So now this thing's ready to be taken out, and we're going to wash it off. I'm going to wash it off before we start because I want to have a clean pallet to work with. I guess the first thing we're going to do is get this, once we get it washed off, we'll get this, my dog's a little nervous. He wants to go in the house. I think he's tired. But anyways, Puppily, looky here, buddy. There you go. Good boy. So anyways, we're going to get it cleaned off, like I said, and then we'll work on getting this rear end flipped. It's going to be a little bit of a process, but we'll get into that. And then, of course, the front suspension's always a process on these things when you slam them. So that's the frame, the front suspension, and the rear gears, whatever it's called. The engine's here. Pretty much shot, I think. It turns over, but it's going to need a full rebuild. I haven't decided yet what we're going to do about that, but I doubt we're going to rebuild that. Then we got just a box full of parts over here. We just threw everything in there. Most of the stuff is for the mowing deck, so a lot of the stuff we won't need. We'll figure out what we need when we need it, when we get to that point. And then, of course, over here we got our console, where the steering wheel stuff goes. That's the other half of the console. Probably don't need that, but we might use that for some kind of braking system. We'll see what we get into. The hood is, the metal on this is awesome. Like, there's no rust at all on this, so this is cool. That's your rear fenders and your piece that comes up to the console. And then the hood's in good shape too, except I'm missing that bottom piece right there. I'm not sure what happened to that, so we'll have to figure out something with that. But that's a lot farther down the line. So that's going to do it for part 1. And part 2, coming up, we'll be working on that rear differential and that front suspension. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for part 1 of slamming my lawnmower. Part 2, we'll be doing suspension work and that rear differential and getting this thing as low as possible. So be sure to check out part 2 when it comes out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.